Hello everyone. Today we will try to solve LeetCode problem 838. In this problem, uh, we have some characters like L, R, and dot. So here we have the description of this problem. After each second, each domino that is falling to the left pushes the adjacent domino on the left. Similarly, the right will pushes the right one. And if there is a force from left and right both sides, then it will be not affect that particular domino. So let's try to understand this problem using an example. So here we have left. So like the second wall, or let's assume these are walls. So the second wall will move to left, and it will affect this wall, and then it will affect the next wall. So like that we can so this is the problem statement. And also let's try to, if we have here right, in that scenario it will affect the right one. And as we can see that see here that it will affect this one and this will affect this one, but in the middle one they are affecting from left and right both sides. So it will remain straight, it will not move to right or left. So now like how we can solve this problem? So for that we have the first basic method is that, let's try to take this string. So here we have this string, so let's assume this is a string. So now the first method we can use here, let's try to understand. If we take this string, only this string r, and then 3 dot, so in this screen, if anyhow we can get these 3 dots, that how many dots are in between two character. So like here we have r and l, and there we have 3 characters. So now we can simply run a for loop, and we can we will convert this thing using 2 pointer. We will start from here, convert this thing to r, this thing to left, then in the middle we are not going to do anything. And similarly, if this thing is, this is the first example. Now let's assume if the first one is L and then it is R, so in that thing we are not going to affect any wall, because it will fall down in the left and it will in right. So like that. And also we have 2 more cases. Now let's assume if we have RR, in that case also we have to convert these all the walls in R, and if left, then we have to convert left. So like that, basically we have total 4 parameters or 4 edge cases. And then we can do a simple thing, we can count the dots in between. Like we can do this thing, we can write the ith index and jth index. So here we have the ith index will be the starting index, and the jth index will be the last index. And then we can run 2 pointer in the given range, and we can convert all the things using the edge characters. So this is the first method. Now similarly, in the same scenario, we can do one more thing using BFS. Let's assume this, yeah. So if we are starting from the first position, okay, and in the starting position, let's assume we have one queue. In that we have all the elements with the L and R statement. So here like we have the index 0 1 index, sorry, here we have the 1th index, then we have the 0 1 2 0 1 2 3th index, then we have 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So like that we have some indexes. In the first stage, what we can do, we can perform the operations for these indexes. Like for the left, we will perform the operation, it will affect the left one. So then we will handle the operation for the left one in the second round. So in the first round, we will do all the operations for these things. Like for left, we will convert this thing into left. Then for 3 also we will convert this thing in right. For 6th, we will convert this thing in the left, this dot. So like that we will perform, and in the second case we will create a new queue. In that we have like the index 0 with a value L. Then we can perform the operation for that thing. Similarly we can do these operations till our length of queue is not equal to 0. So this is the approach, and now we will try to write the code for this approach. Okay, so here we will write our code. So first of all we have one queue, then we have length of our d, our string, and we will also convert our d in like our string in a list, so that we can perform like we can change the characters, because in string we cannot change the values. So first of all our queue will be a list, then length of d, we can simply use that function, and in the end we can create a string by using this list parameter. Now here first of all we have to create a queue. So for that we can run a for loop in our list, but here we have to store the indexes in our queue. So for that we have to use length in our range. So for I in range in lnth, and if our d of I is not equal to dot, in that scenario q dot append, we will append the index. Okay, and now here we have to run our while loop if our length of q is not equal to 0. Now in the next stage here we have to create a dictionary so that we can store the values. Now let's assume whenever we are going in right, in that scenario we will increase the value for the next one. You know, for this r we will increase the index for the next value, and for left we will increase the value of the left dot. And similarly we are performing the operation, and in the end we will see if the character is 1, then it is r. If it is -1, then it is L. Otherwise it will be a straight line if it is 0. So let's try to understand, and let's try to write the code. So our variable will be running store, this is a dictionary, and then we have one again we have to write a while loop, and here first of all we have one index. We can do a pop operation here, and now here we have some parameters. So if our index like d of I and dx, if it is equal to r, okay, if it is equal to r, so in that scenario we have to change the count of next character or next index. So what we can do, we can write a very simple if query, if index plus 1 not in our r store. In that scenario first of all d of r store, d of r, not d of r store, here we have to write d of index plus 1 is equal to 0. In the else condition we will increase the count. Okay, and in the else condition we have to do the same operation for the previous index -1, and here. And why we are doing this thing, because now let's assume that if here in this condition in the middle wall we are getting two forces, left force and right, both forces. So that's why we are adding here, and we are also, if it is exist in the left side, we are doing the -1, so that in the end we can get the 0, and we can perform or we can perform a operation accordingly. So that's why we are doing +1 and -1 here. Now this is, now here we have to run a for loop, key comma value in our dictionary dot keys item, sorry. Okay, and here if our, first of all we have to check the length of key. So our key length will be in between 0 to length, and also the character should be a dot, because we cannot change L and R. So for that we have to check this thing also. So if the key is equal to dot. Okay, now here also we have two things. If the value is 1, in that scenario we have to change our character to R, and if the value is equal to -1, then our value will be left. Yeah, you can use your character something like that. Let's try to. Okay, and one more condition, if value not equal to 0, then we have to append that q in our, that key in our queue. So append key. Okay, and in the end we have to return our D. Let's try to run this code. Join instant int found. Okay, we are getting some error. D of key. Okay, we did a very big mistake here. We have to use R store here instead of D. Okay, now let's run this code. Yeah, it is working. Now let's try to submit it, and then I will show you the solution again. Like I will, yeah, so it is working fine. So now let's try to this solution again. So first of all, like I told you earlier, we are using BFS here. So first of all, we are storing the values where the character is not equal to dot. Then we are running a while loop. In that we are doing, we are moving one step in each iteration. Like in while loop, in this while loop, we are doing the operation for the first queue. In each second we have to do one operation, left or right. So in the first second we have to do the operation for the first queue. So here we did all the things for that queue. We are getting the index. If the character is R, then we have to effect the next wall. If the character is L, then we have to effect the previous index. And then here we have to run a for loop in our stores, and then we have to create a new queue for the next step. So like that we can solve this problem. So this is the second method. In the first method you can create a pointer, two pointer. In that you have to count the values of dot, and then in that particular range you can change the values. So like that we can solve this solution using two methods. Let me show you the second method also. This is the second method. Yeah, so this is the code for that second method. There we have to write two functions. First one for changing the values in a particular range, and here we have to tell that you have to write the R, L and something like that. So if the direction is RR, if the both left and right characters are RR, in that scenario we have to change to all the characters to R. In the next condition, if the directions are LL, then L and RL. So like that we have to create separate conditions, and then here we can run a for loop, and we have to do these things. The time complexity of this algorithm is of n, because we are running our for loop only once. So like that also we can solve the same problem. So there are two methods. And I think this method is good because here we have to write the less code, and also it is quite understandable. So this is for this video. If you face any difficulty in this solution, then please comment. And also if you are facing some difficulty in some other problem, then you can comment that problem also in the comment section. Okay.